All right, welcome into another edition of Catching Up with Tommy Mack here on 1010XL's podcast platform at 1010XL.com. Of course, on the 1010XL app as well. We are live on Facebook, on 1010's page, on my own page, and we will be sharing this all throughout social media. Get all your great Jaguar, Gator, and other sports content right here on the podcast platform at 1010XL.com. Of course, you already know the lineup on the traditional airwaves, of course, and they do a great job. You can also find more content right here at 1010XL.com. This show brought to you each and every time by my small businesses here in Northeast Florida and beyond. If they can help you out, they will, no matter where you reside. Chris Lucero's Bail Bonds, J-Dog Junk Removal and Hauling, Azar Sausage Company, Riverbend Ranch, and the Carpet Man. I'll throw in 1010XL Studios as well. Talk about each of them individually. Hey, look, with Chris Lucero, you get thrown in the clink. He gets you out in a blink. Number one name in the bail game. That's right, Chris Lucero's Bail Bonds. 822-2245, 904-822-BAIL. No doubt about that. All right, before we get into training camp, let's welcome in my esteemed producer. He may be young, but this kid knows his shizzle when we're talking ball, and we'll say hello to Graham Marsh. Grammage, what's up?
Good morning, sir. I appreciate that.
How you doing?
Good. We're in those dog days of camp.
Yeah.
Been out there most days, as have you.
Oh, yeah.
But, work could be a lot worse than getting to watch our Jaguars at training camp.
It's funny you say that. I was talking to my brother on the way in. I normally call him, just to say hi on the way in, get the cobwebs out, that kind of stuff, just talk about whatever. And I said, it is pretty cool to stand right there and watch them, and just, really see what they're doing. And it's great for the fans where they are in the stands, but there's nothing like just standing right there and watching whatever drill you want to watch, whatever you're into. So
when they're hitting, man, and you get to be right there.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I felt, look, yesterday, and I'm going to get into it, was the first live day, which meant full pads, full speed, and tackling to the ground.
Yep.
It was great. It was great. It was my favorite practice by far. Just because of the physicality and all that.
Not even close.
No, you still have a ton of value in the other practices, of course.
But it's entertainment value watching it.
Well, yeah, because, you're tackling to the ground. I mean, it's real, you're really going at it. Two things. One, it still wasn't game speed, but it was better than what they've been doing. And that it's all about the speed. Like for me and I'll get into Doug Peterson playing the starters. I like that because that's another level of speed. I don't care. You could call it full speed, and it is to a certain degree, but it's not game speed. There's a different level. Hey, it's part of the process. I'm going to talk about that too. The process of making an NFL team. This is part of it. Now the next step is what? Well, how do they perform in a game against another team, against another opponent? You get used to your guys. You know their strengths. You know their weaknesses. You're going against them pretty much the same time. When it's the twos going against the twos, you know what I mean? The ones go. So you kind of get used to who you're playing against and all that kind of thing. But that to me, it wasn't game speed yet. And number two. And I get it. It's the new era. The risk is too great, I guess. The money's too big, whatever it is. But it's amazing that used to be the norm. Like, that was a normal practice. And not only one, but two a day. Now, granted, we may not be full pads. No, early, yeah, we were full pads both days. And we'd have goal line scrimmages almost every practice. Now, team wouldn't be to the ground. 2 minute wouldn't be to the ground, but it would be thumping. There'd be some good thumping going on, good banging going on. But that's today's game. You can't risk guys. Now, could somebody look? Thank goodness somebody got hurt yesterday. But what if somebody did? What would we say to that? That was stupid to be out there in pads? Or you know what? Injuries are a part of the game. The guy you could get hurt in the first snap. Look at Nick Foles. I mean, we thought he was going to be great. What happens to him? First game, third series, second, out for the year.
It was the first.
Was it the first series?
It was the first. He threw a touchdown pass on the play.
That's right.
It was one of the most beautiful throws I've ever seen.
That's right. And
but he broke his collarbone. And He's the perfect example for what you're talking about, because the Jaguars put him in bubble wrap the entire training camp and preseason.
Yeah, right.
He only played I think he only played one drive, maybe all of preseason. He barely played. Yep. And even when he played, I remember there was a lot of rollouts and stuff where you can avoid getting hit. They didn't have him standing in the pocket, taking shots, nothing like that.
Right.
Just your exact point.
Right. You just never know is my point.
Never know.
So, nobody got hurt. I liked it. I think it was pretty smart how Doug did it. Look, the rules are the rules. You can only do so much. You can only be in pads so much. You can only hit so much. I like how he did it where leading up, now granted it took 10 days, whatever many days, whatever many practices, to finish a 3-day run of pads into a live day. Now what? We take the pads off and we get ready for Miami. Great, because now what's the next step? It's Miami. How do we perform against another team? Now, I don't know if Miami's going to, or not Miami, Dallas. Sorry, what am I thinking about Miami? Dallas. I don't know how much Dallas is going to play their guys. I like that Doug says I'm going to play my guys for a series or two. And I know you could be like, well, Tom, what about the injuries? Well, okay, but eventually you have to get ready, unless maybe week 1 doesn't matter. Maybe week 1 and 2 don't matter anymore, because you got the extra game. You got time to catch up. I don't believe in that, but maybe some people do. I want my team ready. And it sucks when I got hurt twice. So I know what it's like to get hurt on the field. It's awful. And one was during camp. First week of camp, right? Coming off a great year in 96 where I played a ton and we did a lot. And then first week of camp, tear my ACL and done for the year. It sucks. But what are you going to do? I mean, you still got to practice. You still got to hit, anyway. So it's just those two things. It was amazing to me that it's not the norm anymore. That was an anomaly yesterday, right? Is that the correct term? I think it is. You're like, wow, full. I mean, they lined up and it was early too. It wasn't like, they did all these individual, they got right after it. Short yardage. It's like, wait a minute, is that short yardage? I was like, oh, now this is going to be good, right? And then they went to goal line, 4-minute coming out of the end zone. That's very important. By the way, Logan Cook is unbelievable.
Oh, God, yeah.
They had him backed up to the back of the end zone, and he nailed it 70 yards. I mean, it was a live drill. It was them coming at him. Unbelievable. What a weapon. That flips a field like that, man. Are you kidding me? You got me backed up, so God, what? Yeah. I got a punter that's going to send it to the moon, and now you're going to be backed up.
Special teams, I'm chilling. Special teams. Set it and forget it for me. It's like having a really good offensive lineman that you can just plant somewhere and you have to worry.
Not worry about him. Right.
Punter, kicker, kick returner.
Yep.
Punt returner.
Yep.
I'm good, man.
Agreed.
I feel really good about every position.
I feel that way about Trev and the receivers and the tight ends.
I agree.
And the running backs to a certain degree. Look, Tank Bigsby ripped off a nice run. I mean, it was nice. To see his speed was a beautiful thing. I didn't feel like that particular play was full, at the line of scrimmage, but what he showed was he could break away.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. That was a pretty sweet run. And I tell you what, if he can be a home run hitter, he's going to get time. He's going to get touches. He's going to have to. You're not going to sit that on the bench. So it'll be interesting. Hey, good problem to have. Good problem to have. No doubt about that. All right. So a lot of good things. Look, like you've said, we've been out there at camp. I've been out there. I've been at this camp more than pretty much any other camp, aside from when I first retired and was doing some TV stuff for the team. Aside from that, I hadn't been out to this much camp, and I really enjoy being out there. I do. I'm going to be honest, because I always am. I get a little bored. I get just standing around, especially prior to yesterday. You know what I mean? It does. It's like, look, I've seen the receivers run routes. They're great. They're fast. They run great routes. I love the coach. I've seen the same drills. And you'd be like, well, why don't you, where they have us, I'm surprised. This is one thing I'm surprised that they didn't have the defense on the near field one day and the offense on the far field. The offense has been on the near field, near to the media.
Every time, yeah.
Way more. Even on Saturday at the stadium, I got a chance to go watch Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen work with Bill Shuey on their hands. And, it's funny. You just because they're on the other field, you can kind of see them from the end zone, but it's still you're not up close and personal to them till they get in a team or one-on-one drills or what have you. And I'm just standing there like maybe 10, 15 feet. And I'm like, those are two really big dudes. I mean, they should be killing people. And I was watching their hands and whatnot. I think it's more than just the hands, but they got to have big years. But it's more, and I've said this, and I'm going to go through my list who's had really good camps, in my opinion. I think Foley, Fadasaki, he's one of the keys to this whole thing. And I think if he performs at a high level, Fadakasi, like that, totally messed that up. I even wrote it down. Gosh, damn, I even wrote it down.
I was gonna let it ride.
Sorry, no, correct me, please. I don't like screwing up. Fadakasi, sorry, Foley. I think he's one of the keys if he can stay healthy because he'll help. He'll be like that Calais Presence-esque that Josh Allen had in the first year.
Yeah,
right. And then look, I know we're talking. I've been saying it on my little clips on Facebook. They're not going to – I don't think they're bringing in a rusher. I think they feel Devin Lloyd's their number 3 rusher. I mean, they're showing him a lot up there on the edge. And look, he's in my notes. I think he's going to have a huge year. And by the way, when he blitzes from his linebacker position inside, that's going to be nice. And you know what? Caldwell is not afraid to call it. He's called it multiple times during camp. And guess what? He gets home pretty much every single time. He gets home to the quarterback, like would-be sacks type thing. That's another thing with the we're on goal line, and, Trevor does a little, bootleg rollout and takes it in himself. I'm like, well, that don't count.
Right.
You can't even hit the guy. What are you talking about? Everyone's cheering. Wow, wasn't that awesome? I'm like, no. Awesome?
I was standing right next to Hayes Carline when that happened, and I said the same thing. I was like, man, if I'm a defensive player in camp, if a red jersey scrambles – that's so annoying.
Yeah.
If you're a starter, it's kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's still annoying, but it's sort of whatever.
Yeah.
If I'm like a second or third teamer trying to make a roster spot and I make a play, but then the QB in a red jersey scrambles.
Yeah. No, I know.
I would be so mad,
did
man.
it Saturday, and I was like, you can't do that.
No.
Like, stop. You juking through the crowd. Like, nobody's even touching you. Anyway, that was... it was still a great drill.
I wanted to ask you about Devin Lloyd really quick.
Yeah.
Give me your take on this.
Good.
He has a neck roll this year on his pads. Does that make you more or less confident about his game? What does the neck roll do for a linebacker?
Neither. I've had the neck roll, and then I played without it. I took it off after, I wore it during college. It does help with stingers, so maybe he's having some issue. Who knows? Actually, the channels they had to build channels for me, because I'd get these stingers in college, and so they took the pads out of where my traps go and down and had it just built around. You know what I mean? That type of thing. So I don't think it means anything in his game. I liked it off because I could have more mobility with I always felt like it kind of restricted my head, because it's right there. But look, that guy's all over the place. He's making plays in the pass game, the run game, blitzing. I think he's up for a huge year.
Does the neck roll add 10 points of toughness? Makes you look extra tough when you have a neck roll.
No, blood coming from your nose does.
Blood coming from the nose with the neck roll.
While you're playing with the neck roll.
I just
any kind of blood on your body, like on your jersey, on your face. Yeah, that'll give you some toughness factor.
It's kind of the same where if a receiver or a running back has white cleats, they're just faster. It's just they are.
Yeah.
If a linebacker has a neck roll, he just hits harder.
And maybe he does.
I think it's just a thing.
I tell you what, I've said it all. Our linebackers, the inside guys, are really strong.
Love the backers, man.
Yeah, and I wrote a couple down because I had to just to remember them. But not only the normal cast of characters in Muma and Lloyd and Aluakin, who Aluakin just looks he just looks so comfortably natural in this defense now. You know what I mean? Like, he's all over the place. He's sniffing it out. He knows exactly what's going on. But you look at like Ventrell Miller, he made some plays. DeQuan Jackson, number 55, he's making some plays now. I want to see these guys. And this is the thing. My oldest daughter loves the Jags in football. We're just talking about the process. And the process today is a little different than yesteryear. Yesteryear, you had more opportunities during camp to make a play because two-a-days more hitting, yada, yada, yada. But the process is the OTAs, the mini camps, on the field stuff in June. Then it's camp. Then it's camp with pads. Then it's camp with pads and it's live. Now it's camp with pads and it's a game. And that's how you, we've been hearing all along, and they keep saying it, that the roster's been set since the end of June when they broke. There's 6-7 positions they don't know yet. Now, that doesn't mean things can't change, because this is what happens. Guy looks a certain way during OTAs, looks a certain way during mini camps, looks a certain way, in the offseason. Then they go to camp. And then he looks a certain way when they're not in pads. But then the pads come on, you're like, there's something there. And then you look, or vice versa. He looks not that great in pads during camp practices. But guess what? During the game, this kid's a monster.
Yeah.
So that it's all part of the process. And some guys are great practice players. They just are. And they're okay game players. Some guys are bad practice players, and they show up on Sunday or game day, and they wreak havoc. It's just, I don't know what gets, maybe it's just the game speed, but it's all part of that process, right? And it's a tough one. I was telling my Avery, even when I had the first, I'd say 3 years, even my fourth year, I had to make the team. My fifth year, I was vying for a starting job, so I knew I was going to make the team. But, you go through camp where you're wondering, man, I missed that play, or I got blocked, or I missed that tackle, or the opposite. I just had a great day. I'm feeling really good. I think because you don't know if they like somebody else better. You don't know how they told, because they won't come out and just, they'll kind of show you, when they're trying to critique you, and you can tell, if I asked you out of the not including the starters, the regular cast of characters for the Jags, who do the coaches like? You could tell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You can tell. Cooper Hodges is one of them. They like him. Why do I know that? Because they critique the heck out of him in a good way. In a way, they're not beating on him. They're like, or he does something good. You can tell. By the way, whatever, but I'm not down with the cartwheels. You know what I'm saying? But whatever. And do it right if you're going to do it. You got to come over the top.
It's a pretty rough cartwheel.
It's an awful cartwheel.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
So I would nay that one.
It may not be totally fair because he's a little bit of a higher draft pick, but Tyler Lacey seems to be one of those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Too.
Yeah. He looks good, too. He's on my notes.
And he's taken a lot of, you can tell in team, too, because they have those guys that they really like you're talking about.
Yep.
They'll take some reps with, they'll take all the reps with the twos, and every so often, a Tyler Lacey, he may come in for Trayvon Walker for a play or two or something like that.
Doubt. Well, it's funny you say that, because I'm getting his, Jacob Harris, number 83, he lined up with the ones yesterday. Just now, he's not going to unseat Zay or Calvin or Christian, but I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Well, he might not unseat those guys, but Tim Jones.
Yeah, Tim Jones.
Tim Jones may be worried, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know who's balling his ass off all of camp, speaking of pass catchers, is Garrett Prince.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. The tight ends look good. Josh Peterson's making plays. He's a kid's coach. I was coach's kid. I don't care. He's making plays. He is. He's got good hands. He runs good routes.
There's probably a practice squad spot for him, right? You would think
that if you're on the bubble, you thank your lucky stars. There's 16 deep in the practice
squad. Oh my
squad.
God, yeah.
Just thank your lucky stars. It didn't used to be like that. When you got cut, you were sent home.
Before
the practice squad thing happened.
The sucky part of getting way less reps in camp has a little bit been made up for in those practice squad numbers, because you're at least not getting totally cut. There's a little bit of a
well, I agree. I'll tell you this, and I've been very impressed. Now, I haven't been to any other NFL practices this offseason, but what Doug has done to maximize the amount of snaps that the players are getting, it's not just first team getting all the reps. They're on one field. Second and third are on another. They're both going through games, the amount of snaps that they're getting. Those are game-like numbers, 60,
100%.
50, 70, wherever. You know what I mean? What a way to maximize the whole thing. So
all of practice is really, really efficient, too.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, he runs a great show.
From warm-ups to when they break it down, you can tell. I'm guilty as charged the same way you said. You can get a little bored, kind of watch them run through stuff.
Yep.
But I have never once been in a Doug Peterson practice and watched him break it down and thought, they didn't get enough done today.
Right.
They get things done every single day. You can tell.
No, yeah. There was one, was it Saturday or maybe the one before that? It felt like the doldrums at camp. Let's just get through this day, kind of deal. But I tell you what, they made up for it yesterday. There's no doubt about that. J-Dog Junk Removal and Hauling will take care of all your junk needs, big or small, whether it's at home or at your office, whether it's an appliance or a piece of furniture or what have you, big desk, an armoire, whatever it is. They'll come and pick it up. They'll refurbish most of the things that they pick up and deliver them to veteran families. So check them out, J-Dog Junk Removal and Hauling at jdogjunkremoval.com. And if you know a veteran out there, they are looking for veterans. So check them out for sure. All right, let's go through the list, Grammage, if we can, on the just players. I just went through the depth chart, just who has stood out to me. Now, maybe not every single day, but I'm like, okay, they've had really good camps, right? No doubt about it. So we'll start with the offense. All right, offense. So, and there may be a bunch of names, and I'll explain why, but just hear me out. So on the offensive line, Walker Little has looked very good. There's no doubt about it. He's really athletic and big, but I feel like he's upped his tenacity a little bit. You know what I mean? I think he's more of an aggressor at the point of attack than not. You know what I mean? That just comes from confidence and experience and things like that. You'll notice, I don't know if you notice this, but this is what I notice. A lot of younger or more inexperienced offensive linemen, when they go to block on pass protection, they almost try to reach out and grab, where you really shouldn't do that. You should be confident in your striking ability, right? So instead of just trying to reach out and grab the guy, you should be waiting, and then bam, you hit him with your shot. Yeah. And then you try to grab him after that. You can tell the difference, and it's confidence. It's just confidence in your punch. I bet you Leon Searcy could talk about that. No question about it. But hey, Walker looks good. Cam looks good. That guy, let me tell you something, okay? I say this, I even do this with little athletes. When you walk on your toes, I know you're an athlete. Typically you're an athlete. If your normal walk, just walking, you end up on your toes, you get up on your toe. Well, guess what? 6'7", 300, whatever pounds he is, he walks on his toes. I was like, damn, he is really athletic for a big dude. But he walked by me and I was like, that's an athlete right there. You can just tell. Little pop of the step off the toes. Man, I tell you what, he's one of the keys too. We'll see. He's got to serve the suspension, of course, but he'll be back. He looks really good. By the way, I think Ben Barch will be back soon. Maybe not this game, but probably next week. He's pretty much ready. I got the lowdown on that. I'm not going to give it out, but yeah, he's pretty much ready. So look forward to that. Shatley, I'm concerned with the heart, but I think they got it all figured out. He's had a good camp prior to the issue with the AFib.
And he was out there yesterday.
He was
doing stuff, and so
he was just out there watching. No, he didn't.
No, but yeah, if it was like a serious issue, he wouldn't be out there.
No,
at all,
you're right.
I would imagine.
Right. He's coming around, so that's good. Anton Harrison looks good when he's out there. He's got good feet. He's a big kid. He's got really good feet. I was watching him on one-on-ones. He can handle that spot. Obviously, it's going to take more time to develop, but he looks really good. Blake Hance is the number one guard that goes in with Shatley and Barch out. So that says something, and we'll see if he can hold up there. Hey, more competition. That's a good thing. And look, Cooper Hodges, I'll tell you this. I personally, I may think of him as like a practice squad guy with the idea that, man, let's get him up to like 320. He's got nastiness. He does. He likes to get after it. I don't like all the showboat. I'm not a fan of that, but whatever. I don't really care, to be honest with you. But he comes off the line. He does got a little nastiness to him. I like to see him get a little bit filled out. I'm sure he's strong as heck. I'm not saying he's small, but he's just not a massive guard, like a really big guard. Typically, guards are big, thick.
You're saying make him an immovable object.
Yeah, well, bigger. Yeah. Like if you put Scherf and him next to each other, you'd see the difference.
Yeah.
And by the way, Scherf's athleticism is phenomenal. I don't have him that. That's a no-brainer. And Fortner's had a pretty decent camp. Look, what's tough on and this is another thing. We're watching one-on-ones. It's not totally realistic. Like some of it is, right? But some of it's not. So when there's a nose on my center, and he's going to bull rush me in a pass block, I typically have a guard giving him a shot. Typically. Just to where it can't be. So when you see Fortner in the other center, William, like on skates, it's almost not realistic the way that goes down. You snap the ball, you usually have a little bit of help, and then you take over one-on-one. So just things like that, right? The outside guys, based on time, like running around and then eventually getting to the bag, that's not a sack.
Because the QB's going to step up.
He's going to step up and step out. And he's gone before you even get finished around your circle.
Especially in today's game with the athletes at QB.
But getting smoked at the line, and then you're right to the QB, that looks really good. I saw Roy Robertson Harris had a couple of those. I think between Foley, Harrison, and RRH, we're good, especially if they play like the end of the year. Foley's got to stay healthy. I'm telling you, he's the key. To me, he can be an absolute beast in the backfield. I think he can be very, very disruptive. But let's stick it with the offense. Of course, the wide receivers have looked very good. I know everyone loves Ridley, and I do too, but to me, Zay Jones has had a phenomenal camp. He could be my number one all day long.
I was about to say the same thing. I love
his attitude. He's kind of he's not soft-spoken, but he looks soft-spoken, but man, he's got a fire in him. He loves his teammates. You can tell that, but more than anything, he's big, he's fast, he's confident, and he's got really good hands, and he knows how to get open. I think we're going to see a ton of Zay Jones this year. I think he's had a really, really good
He's
camp.
got that kind of, when he is really streaking down the field, he's got that kind of effortless glide.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? That's sort of like,
it's fluid. It's like it's not even trying.
Quick twitch.
Yeah.
Ridley and Kirk are like the main, and Agnew, obviously, are those short area guys.
Yeah.
But when you're 10, 15 yards down the field running some sort of post or go or something like that, when Zay gets his long strides, he's galloping down the field. You're like, oh my God.
Good makeup speed, to run down that ball.
And it's just an effortless like glide.
Yeah.
Like, receivers at Jimmy kind of had that. When Jimmy would get in the open field, it was like,
forget about
dude.
It. Yeah.
So
I think, look, if I'm the other wide receivers, I want to be the man.
Yeah,
it ain't all Calvin's show. All right, we're glad he's here, but hey, I'm still the man. Kirk's had a really good camp. Kirk, I tell you, the way they're going to use Kirk, he's going to have a lot of catches. I mean, he's going to be one-on-one, singled up underneath a ton. One thing you've noticed about, and I think it's just around the league, crossing patterns galore. That's all. It's like treating this guy coming over here, this guy coming over here. Let's screw him up behind us too. We'll do the same thing. Really innovative stuff to get your guys open, and they're athletic and can get open and can catch.
Linebackers aren't allowed to hit anybody anymore when they come across the middle. True. And if I've got an offensive line that can protect my QB, which I think you and I both believe that the Jaguars do, crossing patterns in today's game are impossible to stop if you can't get to the QB.
Absolutely.
If you can't hit, it used to be if you came across the middle, you were going to die.
You could at least put a hand on him.
Yeah.
At the minimum.
But now it's like, why would I not? Because the thing about a crossing pattern is, at some point, that crossing pattern will be open.
Oh, without a doubt.
If you're going across a zone.
No, without a doubt.
If you're going across a zone and you just run across the entire zone, you're going to find a hole in the zone.
Right.
And against man, at some point, you're going to beat your man.
Unless the guy has got great catch-up speed. Because you're going to shake him first. Because it's like a quick slant. Why are they mostly open? Because you got to react to the slant.
Yes.
And unless you jump the slant, you reacted to it. So you're going to be a split second behind. The key there is just to get him down on the ground and make it a 5-yard minimal gain. That's a tough one to cover. That's normally a gimme. But look, the wide receivers look great, in my opinion. I'm going to also call out Seth Williams. Elijah Cooks has looked good. Jacob Harris has looked good. Kevin Austin has looked good. I like Kendrick Pryor as well, number 14. I think he's got a spot maybe on the practice squad. And I think Tim Jones I think they do like Tim Jones. Look, I think he can be a pretty good weapon. I'll tell you this. I've said it already. I'll say it again. Practice squad or cut, there's going to be some really good players, either cut or on the practice squad.
100%.
Great problem to have.
That's the league.
I tell you what, these guys, you keep working, because guess what? Every other team can get access to the film. And you keep playing, you never know. You may not make this team, but you can make another team. and it happens.
And they're watching
all
that
the
film
time.
too.
Oh, absolutely. They're looking for people. You never know. You never know. Look, I mean, this is a total hypothetical, but someone said to me the other day, "What are you doing? Cam comes back." I said, "Well, you assess it, but what if someone has an injury out there and they need a tackle?
And you can trade for it.
Maybe you move Cam. I don't know. Maybe you don't. But I'm just saying, like, there are different options with him based on what's going on with your team, the health of your team, the productivity of Walker Little and the left guard, whoever that ends up being. And then, the fact that, you can unleash that.
If I'm Trent Baalke and it's week three just wrapped up and Walker Little has been a stalwart at left tackle.
Yes.
All 3 weeks of the regular season, he's played really well. I'm really confident, even dating back to last year. I got a good enough sample size to believe Walker Little is my left tackle of the future. Yep. And to your point, somebody else goes down around the league, left tackle gets an ACL or something.
Yep.
And I can trade Cam Robinson for a king's ransom in week 3 because it's a team that thinks
it would be probably the perfect situation.
It would be.
Yeah. But let's not look. If we need him, we need him.
Oh, of course,
you know what I'm saying?
100%.
Like, I'm not ruling Cam out yet.
This is all conjecture for sure.
Listen, last year before his injury, he to me he was a top guy. He was playing at an outstanding level. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, I got a nice question for my friend Sonny Clark here. After seeing what's going on in camp, are the Jags still the team to beat in the AFC South? I'm going to say yes, they are, but I'm not counting Tennessee out. I'm just not. I think they're going to be a tough out. I'm not worried about Indy for whatever reason. I don't know. I'm not that concerned about them. Remember when you used to be concerned about them because of their offensive line? You know what I mean? Like they had such a great offensive line and holy cow. But you're not worried about that anymore. Houston, I'm not worried about Houston, but I don't think they're going to be an easy out. They never are, it seems, for us. And I think D'Amico Ryans, his culture is working down there. Look, everyone's happy in camp. I mean, everyone feels great about their team in camp because, that's part of the issue, not issue, but like the evaluation. Like, okay, our guys look good going against each other, but what does that really mean? You know what I mean? Like Walker Little, he's been dominating on those one-on-one drills for the most part. He hasn't beaten them 100%, but he's blocked Josh Allen, he's blocked Trayvon Walker, he's done a great job. Well, how good are those guys? Overall, I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
Sometimes Josh is wonderful, is awesome. Sometimes he disappears. Trayvon, you can't say anything yet, other than he's probably better against the run than he is against the pass.
The Jaguars have not won or lost a single rep in camp. Individuals have won or lost reps.
Everyone's won.
The Jaguars.
Everybody wins.
Well, right, but that's what if the Jaguars if Walker Little beats Trayvon Walker in a rep, that's a neutral. That's neutral for the Jaguars. Yeah. You know what I mean? That until they play somebody in a different uniform, they don't win or lose any reps. Right. So you really aren't going to know until the preseason. And I know players are sick of it. I'm sure you can attest this when you were playing, that back in camp, you get really sick of hitting the same dudes all the time. Getting to hit some new blood is going to be nice.
Well, it's that, and again, you get used to the player. It's no different when you study tendencies for your opponent. You kind of figure out things during the game. Like you see a formation, they run a certain play out of it. They have success. That happens in the first quarter, third quarter. Guess what? They line up again. You're ready. Now you're ready for it. It's kind of but now you're with camp day after day, getting used to the guys. So I agree with that. I want to mention Ingram's been really good, of course. Garrett Prince, Brenton Strange, and I wrote down Josh Peterson. He's making plays. I don't know if he makes the team, but I tell you what, those between Ingram and Strange and Prince, you got a good room there. You got a good room. I like it.
Normally, you keep 3 tight ends, right? That's typically
yeah.
That's about normal.
If there's heavy blocking needed, I would imagine. Yeah,
and then your third is probably going to play some special teams
without a doubt. Your second mate too.
Do some blocking on kick return and that type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would be shocked if the 3 aren't Ingram, Strange, and Garrett Prince. And then you think Peterson is probably a practice squad, I would say.
Yeah.
I would probably agree.
Reyes, he's he glimpsed early, but I haven't seen much out of number 19. I thought he was going to do a little more. And again, here's the thing. Back to the game. If Reyes comes out number 19 and has a hell of a game, then you start going, well, you know what? Maybe we do need to think about him on the practice squad. Maybe.
He's an all-bus guy. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Well,
coming off the bus, that's
he looks phenomenal.
Large human being.
Yeah. He looks the part. So again,
if I'm in the Hunger Games, he's my first overall pick to go kick some ass. If I'm in a Hunger Games, he's my first overall pick.
Well, here's another thing. You got the XFL and the USFL if you don't make it in the NFL. You do. You got opportunities there. So I thought all those guys that I mentioned on offense have had a really good camp. On defense, the list isn't as long, but the players are very poignant in my opinion. I already mentioned Oluwakin. Devin Lloyd, to me, I just think he's going to be a star. I mentioned the backers. Muma, Ventrell Miller looks like he could play the game. I do like Daquan Jackson. Not sure if he's, he better be really good at covering punts, running down a kickoff, whether, whatever they do there. That's me. I did fail to mention the running backs, but we know who they are. Bigsby's looking good. Etienne looks good. Johnson looks good. I still like Hasty, but he may be the odd man out.
I think the opposite. I think it looks more like Hasty has clearly shown himself above Dearness Johnson and Camp. So Hasty's made a lot more plays in my view.
I don't know. I think they're kind of the thing with Johnson. He plays a lot of special.
Mm-hmm, he does. That's true.
That's going to be, the interesting thing. But nonetheless, look, they're in a good spot in the running back room without question. And great. And look, Bigsby looks fantastic. All right, over to the defense. I mentioned the linebackers. Foley looks good to me. Fatukasi. Again, he's going to be a key. I think Roy Robinson Harris, I think Hamilton, they've had good camps. They're your starters. You got nothing to worry about there as long as they play like they did at the end of last year. Lacey, you mentioned, he has shined once the pads and got a little more physical. He's a big dude, young guy. Cisco has had a good camp overall. Herndon's had a good camp overall. Darius Williams really, I tell you, the other day, he was right there with Ridley one-on-ones.
He beat Ridley 2 reps in a row. He stoned him 2 reps in a row.
He was very, very good at that. So I think he's had a pretty good camp. Eric Hallett, number 40, is making some plays. You're hearing more about him. I really like Antonio Johnson. I don't know where I play him yet, but I like him on my team. He's making the roster. Like Wilson, number 27.
Yeah.
I like him. He's an interesting prospect, man. He's very athletic, very fast, and very confident, and you need that out of a defensive back. It could be a special teamer as well.
I got a really quick, it's not a sidebar because it's relative to what we're saying, or relevant to what we're saying, I should say. Is for the Jaguars, is it almost tougher to make the back end of a roster than maybe the rest of the league? Because the Jaguars, I think, this version of the Jaguars has more core special teamers than I think most teams have. Dewey Wingard's a core special teamer.
Yep.
Daniel Thomas, a core special teamer. Dearness Johnson, you and I just talked about, is going to be a core special teamer.
Yeah. Core meaning all 4, right?
Right. And just also they are going to make the roster.
Right.
So those extra spot, the Jaguars aren't needing that extra spot on as a gunner or whatever. Trey Herndon,
right?
Another guy, core special teamer. That's more than I could ever remember with the Jaguars having. That's more dudes that I can remember saying those guys definitely play special. Tim Jones,
yeah.
So
you need those guys. Listen,
and those numbers.
That's why it's 3. Offense, defense, special teams, very important.
So for guys like Hallett and guys like Wilson, that kind of sucks, right? Because normally you might have a couple extra spots to maybe squeak in on the roster in the back half, but all these other guys are making the team. Yeah. Daniel Thomas is making the team.
No, I know.
Dewey Wingard just got a deal. He's
definitely making the team.
You know what I'm saying? It almost makes it even harder.
Absolutely. But again, you got room on the practice squad, and you got other chances as well. So I think, look, overall, it's been a very good camp. Now it's just, that's part of the process. And now we got to see him in a game. And again, you got to take it in stride. Don't get too excited over game 1. Don't get too up. Don't get too down. Whatever happens, all that matters is the regular season. And look, I don't care if they win in the preseason, one game. It does not matter to me. What matters to me is how my starters look and the players that are going to play significant roles, special teams included, how they look going into week 1. That's it. So, and again, don't get caught in the trap. Last year, what did we get caught in the trap? Trayvon Walker, what did he do to those tackles in the preseason?
Bullied them.
Crushed them. I mean, we're like, holy cow, this kid's going to be unbelievable. Well, then the real guys, not the real guys, but the starters come in, or the starters for a reason, and then he becomes kind of normalized, right? So got to wait and see how that shakes down. Hey, I mentioned Azar Sausage Company. I mentioned them again. Third generation right here in Jacksonville. The brothers have taken it over. That's Phil and John, man. Their grandfather started during World War II. Then their father took over. They're in most of the restaurants you eat at. Their sausage is absolutely phenomenal. You deer hunters know about them too, because right down there on Union Street, they'll take care of that and process that deer meat for you. Check them out in Winn-Dixie, Publix, and other grocery stores. I tell you what, I had their sausages last week, and phenomenal. They gave me a nice big package of the hot and the mild, and man, they went down fantastically, no doubt about it. Of course, the Riverbend Ranch, stay tuned for that. I'm going to do something separate, but we've got a cookout coming up in 2 weeks. Shirts, hats, beers, food, and football stories out at the beach in Jacksonville Beach. Stay tuned to that. It's the best steak you'll have, and it'll deliver right to your door. And, of course, my man at the Carpet Man, LVP, baby. That's it, LVP. Like you and me, you know. 1, 2, 3, and that's something Michael Jackson tune or something like that. Luxury vinyl planking is what it stands for. The highest quality at the best prices you can find anywhere else. So great to have all of them on board. We'll be back on Friday after Jaguars today. Let's see. So tomorrow they got practice. Go out there tomorrow. I don't know what they're going to be doing. I'm still going to go.
I would imagine tomorrow being relatively
probably uppers maybe. I mean, you still got, look, it's Wednesday. You're not playing till Saturday. You know, you don't want to do what you did yesterday, of course, but you may want to see a little bit more.
I bet starters won't do much, though.
Yeah.
It'll be more back half of the roster guys like we've been talking about.
Hey, man, it's part of the process like I've been talking about. You gotta perform.
And it's really becoming crunch time for those back half of the roster guys. Cuts are still a couple weeks away, but they're looming. It looms large, and man, especially with that preseason game, you don't get a lot of those opportunities. You got to make the most of them. So
listen, man, as a guy that's been cut and a guy that has made it, I feel for him. I do. You know, and it's funny, like, and I never like when people like, oh, he got cut, he's no good. No, it doesn't mean he's not a good football player. It just means he didn't make that team. And a lot goes into it sometimes. It's not just you're not good enough. It's they got too many numbers. Like you said, look at the core special teamers. You know, what about Wilson, number 27? They may really like him. They're like, but who we going to replace? Are we gonna take out Thomas? We love Thomas. We take out Dewey. We love Dewey. No, we're not taking those guys out. So what do we? It's just not a fit. You don't fit here or whatever the case may be. And then on the other side, when you get to call home and say you made it, it's pretty awesome. There's nothing close. Well, there's a lot of things close to that, like getting married and having babies, that kind of stuff. But from a football standpoint, being able to call home and tell your mom and dad or your friends or whoever that you made the National Football League is quite awesome. So it's an emotional thing. It is, and it's crunch time. So if I'm these guys on the bubble, it's all about the games. You got to shine in the games, and sometimes it's not easy. I can remember I had to wait till like middle of the fourth quarter to get out there. It sucks. You're sitting there waiting. You go through the getting jacked up before the kickoff, and then that cools down. You don't play, and then you come back out at halftime, you're jacked up again, and then you got to wait another quarter. It's like a roller coaster, you know, and then you only get so many chances to make a play. You got to make plays. So I don't care. We're talking Jags, any team out there, man. I feel for the guys fighting for like my dad said, I'll never forget. He's like, hey, man, you're fighting for your football life. This means everything to you. Don't you forget that. And it is true. All right, that's going to do it for me and Graham this time around here. I'm catching up with Tommy Mack. Want to thank all of you for watching, listening, sharing, and checking it out. Of course, you can check out all great content here on 1010XL.com and their app. Make sure you download their app. And we'll be sharing this on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. We'll be all over the place. Graham does a great job putting it out there. So until next time, y'all stay safe and be cool. And we'll see you right here on Catching Up with Tommy Mack. Peace.